This will be part 3 of the completed Automoblox Windshield. These are the dimensions from the file 5.2b ASR Automoblox T9 dimension drawings, the Automoblox T9 dimension drawings. You're going to need these dimensions. I'm going to have these dimensions standing by as I work through this part. I'm not going to refer to it over and over again. You should have the dimensions open as you are working on your part. When I talk about a dimension, it's going to be from this file, and it's going to be this section that you're looking at right now. So we've already created this outside portion here. And if we notice, this corner here and this corner here do not look the same. That's because this is the more the lowered swoopy down portion of the windshield, we could call it, and this is the back side of the windshield. And we need to create this feature inside of the windshield we've already created. We need to keep this orientation. I'm not going to refer to this as the front and the back of the windshield. I'll be referring to this edge here, right here, as the right side of the windshield. As we do these dimensions, I will call that line right there the right side, and I will call this line here the bottom of the windshield. I'll call this line here the bottom of the rectangle, and I'll call that the top of the rectangle. And you guessed it, this one right here, the right side of the rectangle and the left side of the rectangle, to hopefully keep things clear. So all these dimensions, they're all referenced from this same line that goes up the right side here and is in coincident with the right edge, reference from the right edge of this windshield as we look at it from this angle. And this last one here, 3.04, we've already done that dimension. That's already there. And now all these dimensions here are all referenced from the bottom edge of the windshield as it appears to us right here. So that's how we're going to measure everything. I'm going to lay out my dimensions exactly like they are here, and I recommend you do that too. Don't leave these dimensions laying all over the place inside your part where they get really confusing and they're in your way. I'm going to place them nice and evenly and try and keep the dimension here right in the middle. Keep that dimension and that dimension between the lines. Same thing we're going to do on this left side here as we measure from the bottom to these upward towards these features. Now there's these little teeny rectangles here. There's one here, 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 and here. 6 of them. We need those. They're very important. You won't get credit without those. And it won't fit well in our passenger section without them. There's a little feature here. There's a blow up of it, and we can see it right here. So these dimensions are very important. This is the side of our passenger section insert of our windshield, and we can see that it runs from 0.05 from one end to the other. And then there's a line right down the center. That line is there because we're going to be centering these as far as our dimensions are concerned. So this 0.95 is to the center of that rectangle. This 1.94 is to the center of that rectangle, and that one. And then these two here, here, and here, the line goes right through the center of the rectangle. It's not easy to see in this picture, but it is here. So you have to trust me on that. We could use this 1.28, but we're just going to make those smack dab in the center from the top to bottom, which corresponds to 1.28 dimension in inches. So it's important as we go around the square that we are 0.05 this direction, or here it'd be 0.05 in this direction, but away from the part is 0.04. 0.04 this way, 0.04 this way, 0.04 this way, 0.04 this way, 0.04 this way. I think you get the point. You get the idea. So that'll be the next step. We're going to make the rectangle first. We're going to get it dimensioned correctly using these dimensions and these dimensions. Then we're going to fillet these 4 corners. We're going to give that a try. Usually I do that at the end, but I'm going to try it earlier on, filleting the corners. Then we're going to draw these rectangles. And we're going to use different tools. We're going to use the mirror tool to reproduce these, to make it faster, so we don't have to draw all 6 of them. We can just draw a few of them and duplicate them. All right, next step, let's get drawing. So here's where we left off. We have our offset work plane. We're going to create a sketch on that work plane. So we've got a brand new sketch that we're going to choose, 2D sketch, and make sure you highlight the work plane. Don't go back to that surface there. Highlight work plane, and mine says work plane number 2. Yours will probably say work plane number 1, because this is a video I used this part in a different class already, and I deleted, and now I'm recreating. So I'm going to click on work plane number 2, and now there's a sketch here. Its orientation is not the same as our drawing, so I'm going to rotate that clockwise so that the orientation, we can see this curve here and look at this curve here, and you can compare those to our drawing. You can see that our orientation is the same. So like I said, we're going to make a rectangle. So I chose rectangle, and this rectangle has dimensions of, I don't care. Seriously, we don't really care what the dimensions are yet. We will dimension it just as it is in the sketch. So we click and we draw a rectangle and we fill it in there. And I made sure that it didn't have any constraints. It didn't line up with any other dotted lines when I drew that. And I'm done with the rectangle. Hit OK. So now it's time to add some dimensions. So the first dimension, before we do that, just to make sure things work correctly, let's project geometry. And we're going to go to that surface that we used for our original surface to make our parallel plane, our offset plane from. And you can see it highlighted in red there. Your colors may differ. And I'm going to click that to project that geometry. So now it's all in yellow. And that'll make it easier to dimension too. Because remember, those aren't on the same level. As I turn this, that surface was way back here in red, and I projected it onto our new work plane. And that's the idea of that. So, reorienting, now we can click dimension in constraints, and the far right side, click, and the far right side of our rectangle. And the dimension for that is 0.68. Enter. Now the far right side of the windshield and the left side of that rectangle. And that dimension is, I'm going to leave a little space there, 2.22. 2.22. Very good. Now we can do the bottom. So the bottom of the windshield, bottom of the rectangle, and that is 0.29. And the bottom of the windshield and the top of the rectangle. And that is 2.26. There we go. Now our rectangle is properly dimensioned. This way we get the dimensions of the rectangle correct and its placement within the windshield correct all at the same time. And we're dimensioning it exactly the same way as our drawing was dimensioned. And that makes things really easy for us to proof and edit and double check our work. Now let's make those fillets. We right click OK and we go to fillet. Each of these fillets is 0.15. And we click on, we'll zoom in, click on the corner. We like that preview. Because I didn't do my dimensions from corners, I did it from lines, we're able to do this. If I dimensioned from the corners, this would be a problem. And we're good. We have our fillets done. Now we can go back and add those little rectangles. Those little rectangles are 0.05 wide and 0.04 out from our surface, our rectangular surface. So we click on rectangle again, and I'm just going to put them not exactly where they belong at first. Click on the line, and it sticks out 0.04, and its width is 0.05. These are very small. When you zoom way out, you won't even hardly see them. When you look at the whole thing, it just looks like there's a little constraints there, but you can hardly see the rectangle. Now, what I like to do is go to right click OK, choose construction. So I'm right up here, construction. I'm going to choose a construction line, and this will help me get a coincident from the center of this line to the center of the rectangle line, the right side of the rectangle. Click line, choose the center point. So there's our midpoint. We get a nice green dot right in the midpoint. You get a green dot in the corners, right? But we want the midpoint. So we get a green dot there. And then I just draw my line at a nice 180-degree angle and 0.5. The dimension, the length of this construction line is not important, only that it's long enough that we can see it. Right click OK. So now we zoom out a little bit so we can see the right side of our rectangle, that red line. And now we choose in the constraint panel coincident. So we're going to create a coincident constraint between this midpoint, there's the green dot right there, and that construction line that we just clicked on. And now our little square is perfectly centered. Right click OK. So that is perfectly centered top to bottom in our new rectangle. Very nice. Now we're going to draw another little rectangle down here. This rectangle has the same dimensions, but it's oriented 90 degrees from the previous one. Again, I'm not choosing the exact spot, but I am going to type in the exact dimensions. 0.05 is the width, and it sticks out from our rectangle that we drew, 0.04. And I click enter. But I made the mistake. I did not change it out of construction. So I'm going to highlight it, choose turn construction off, and then click outside. And now it's no longer construction. But I'm still on construction, which is fine, because I'm going to do that construction line right at the midpoint again. Same tool I used last time. When you're zoomed out, it just makes it a lot faster for finding that midpoint. So it's 0.5 inches. Again, it's a random number, but it's plenty big that we can see it. And I right click OK. So there's that construction line. Now it's time to dimension that from the right side at 0.95. I click dimension. I click the far right side of my windshield. I click the construction line, and I travel down, and I'm pretty close, but not right. 0.95 inches. Enter. Now we have a construction. We have that little square, and the construction line is right at the right distance. Right click OK. And we turn off construction just to be sure. So there's two of our boxes. We need more. That's not enough. So there's a couple different ways we could go with this. I'm going to use the mirror function. Rectangular pattern would be another way to go. So if I click mirror, this is a new tool for most of you. It has a select is highlighted, and it's got a red arrow saying you need to select the geometry that you want to mirror. The mirror line is also in red, but you notice it's not selected yet. Not time to select the mirror line yet, but it is time to select our geometry that we want to mirror. So let's go ahead and mirror just this one. And I'm not going to click all four sides. I want to click just this line, and this line. So I could click them all individually, or I could left click down here, drag to the left, and I'm highlighting only those. And I let go, and you can see they're all highlighted in light blue. Your color may vary. And I could keep selecting more geometry, but that's all I want to select at the moment. Now it needs a mirror line. I need a line that's right down the center of my part of this rectangle. And oh, look at that. There already is one, that construction line that we already drew. So we click on that construction line. We click on the mirror line first. We need to tell it that we're going to click on our mirror line. And now we click on it. Because I clicked on it already, it's selected, which means it will mirror the mirror line about the mirror. Won't really affect anything. So I want to zoom out so I can see what happens when I click apply. We click apply, and you can see there's a lot of constraints here. There's a constraint here. It duplicated this construction line, but more importantly, it duplicated that rectangle, and it put it exactly where we needed it. So that's great. We click done. Now we're going to use the mirror again. We want to mirror these three to the other side, to the left side. So we need another mirror line to do that about. So we clicked construction, click construction up here, we click line. We need to find the midpoint for the top of our rectangle, and we get a green dot. We come down to the bottom, and I'm going to get a green dot. I don't actually have to draw it all the way across, but this is just a nice insurance policy that I got it nice and straight, and I click that line, and we click OK. Now it's time to mirror. I'm going to turn off construction just to play it safe. It's a good habit. And click mirror. I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to left click, drag to the left. It chooses those three lines. Zoom out, move, zoom in. Again, left click, drag to the left, choose those three lines. It also chose the construction line. That's not a problem for us. Zoom in on the bottom one. Left click, drag to the left, choose those three lines. Now we've chosen all three of the lines that we need to duplicate. And it just gave me a save reminder. It's always a good idea at this point. You guys should probably finish your sketch, pause the video, finish your sketch, save, and then reopen the same sketch. Right click on that sketch, edit sketch, and then you can come back to this point and continue with the video. So I have a mirror line here, so I'm going to choose mirror line so the Inventor knows that that's what I'm clicking on, and then I'm choosing this as my mirror line, and I click choose. I click left click on that and choose it, and I click apply. Boom. Now we have a box there, a box there, a box there. Very good. We have boxes all over the place and exactly where they belong. We click done. This is very nice. Now we just need to do a little bit of trimming and deleting to get rid of this little line on the inside. So if we come in here and I choose trim, I'm going to click. It chooses these separately. It treats these two sides separately. But you can see it's a dashed line showing what I'm going to trim away. And I'm going to come over here and trim that away. And that line is ready. So we're going to make this square wave pattern all the way around. This way, when we extrude, it extrudes all of the parts we want to extrude and doesn't leave any behind. Now when I trimmed here, it left lines behind because remember I made a rectangle here. Because I drew a rectangle, there's a line here and there's the lines that I duplicated. So it doesn't always let me trim all of it away. So but there we go. So there was the original line and then there was the rectangle line. But it was happy, it let me do it. Sometimes you have to delete. You want to make sure you only delete. There we go. Took 4 clicks. You only want to delete this section. You don't want to delete the entire line. because then that's going to have to be redrawn again. So I keep working my way around, trim, trim, and back to the center here. So this is the center box on the left hand side, and we do a little bit more trimming, and voila, we have the square pattern there. So now we have that everywhere. I'm going to turn off my constraints. I could use the F keys, but instead I'm going to hit OK, and there they go. They're gone now. That is excellent. We're in really good shape. This is ready to extrude. I'm going to go ahead and finish part 3 at this point. And the next step, we're going to come back, we're going to extrude this, and we're going to shell it, and then we can change the material and change the color, and we'll be all done. All right, remember to save. Always save. Save, save, save.